Good evening, people. Good evening. This is Spirit Journey. Good evening. Boy, how beautiful it is outside. Look at those lights. Absolutely beautiful. Yes, good evening. Today is February 25th, 2023, and the time is now 8 p.m. Wow. Boy, it feels like I haven't been on here for a while. It feels weird for me right now. I feel like I haven't been um, at this device, doing live streams. Yeah, things seem to be changing right now. Well, I'm going to talk about a sensitive topic. Me too, he too. Yes, good evening. Yes, me too, he too. That's what I entitled this live stream. And yes, I hope that we go participate in the conversation here with this live stream. I want to talk about a sensitive topic. Uh, Me too, he too. And I worded such. They had the Me Too movement that came out a couple of years ago. Women in Hollywood shared their stories. And interesting, I think there's a lot of women out there, regular women, um, performers who have their stories. And I have mine. And it's interesting. Yeah, I want to share with you some things that I've experienced. I've talked about certain things in the past, but I want to talk about other aspects of the same theme. I was actually thinking about it a couple of days ago. I'm not sure why, but it just came into my mind and how I felt as a woman and growing up here in New York City and things that happen just because you're a female. And a moment ago, I learned that things like this don't just happen to women. Things like this can happen to men as well. And yeah, I learned about this. Um, what led me to do this live stream? Branden Fraser, Fraser, the actor. Yeah, Branden Fraser is an actor, and yes, I watched some of his movies in the 1990s, and then you didn't hear from him, and I wondered, hey, whatever happened to that funny guy? He had a nice shape and everything. What happened? Well, I found out what happened just minutes ago, and that's what led me to do this live stream. Yeah, the 1990s. I mean, I didn't see a lot of movies in the 1990s and the early 2000s, but I saw some. But I remember Brandon Fraser, and it was like he's like handsome but kind of goofy at the same time. He had to play. He had like two personas. You would think someone. I mean, you're projecting on him. Yes, yes. He has this image that two parts of him, the handsome guy, and then he can be like someone that's funny and kind of very expressive and clowns around. And I'd like this playfulness. And then you didn't hear about him. And then I heard a couple of years ago that he had gotten injured. And then now, just minutes ago, I'm finding out there was something more than just injuries from his Hollywood career. But Branden Fraser, the actor, was violated. Yes, and that's what I want to talk about. Yeah, I respect the actor, and he did a movie in 2022 called The Whale, and I just saw the preview of it. Um, yeah, he'll probably get an award for that, and yeah, he plays a really big guy. I think they got the right actor to play it because see, many of us know Branden Fraser, the actor, that good-looking, very lean, athletic guy, and then now he gained a tremendous amount of weight, and it's almost like, you know, what happened? Well, a lot of things happen to people. And again, they did initially say, he got injured on the job multiple times, many operations. But the thing that happened to him, I'm not sure whether it happened to him in 2003 or that he um, outed the incident in 2003. Either way, that would make it almost 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Um, Branden Fraser had spoke to the GQ magazine and shared an incident that happened to him. This man, he was I think the president of this organization that's part of Hollywood. The guy walks up to him and did something to him down below, either his backside and or his front, or it could have been both. Either way, that is an off limits. And off limits, and he's a married man. And an elderly man, the guy that did it, allegedly did it. Well, he wrote a book about he talked about part of that incident and other things. I forget the culprit's name, but yeah, he's an elderly man. He's 88 years old, and Branden Fraser is about 54 years old. So you have a big age difference. And this event would have happened to him in his early, let's see, in his late 30s or something like late 30s, early 40s. How, this is a very sensitive issue. So, but I want to talk about it. Only thing I can say is, wow, very, very horrible. So you never really think about that. Okay, yeah, me too, he too, also. Yeah, men could be victims of sexual assault as well. And to have an actor that was so well known, and when he had come out with the story in 2003, according to the video clip that I saw just a moment ago, he got blacklisted from Hollywood. They stopped calling him. Could you believe that? Wow. Vicious. That's one thing I don't like about Hollywood. That you speak out. You have men and women in Hollywood, young and old, and here, a very respected actor. Never heard anything negative against him. And then he comes out with something in 2003 that he was violated in public. And that's why it's just coming to our memory now. There was another actor, I think he started as a sports person, and now in acting. Big guy, big buff guy, and a man grabbed his genitals right by his wife. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. How, see, some of these people in Hollywood, it goes to their head and they think that God, what God would do that? But it goes to their head. And they do, some of these predators do things against others. And I feel it's a power thing. It's not like, they got a sexual urge and no. In my opinion, it's just a power trip. It's such a lack of respect for the boundaries. There's no reason for them to do it outside of just their own ego. Yeah, the Hollywood and television phoniness. Absolutely. Yeah, I had an opportunity years ago. I did work behind the scenes in the TV industry as well. Yeah, I worked in so many different industries. Yeah, I worked behind the scenes once. I didn't last long. Yeah, it's a very, very um, feeling, emotional um, industry. You rub someone the wrong way, they're real emotional, and you rub on someone's bad side. That's it. Yeah, that's true. That's it. I don't really have any respect for the industry. Yeah, but the idea of the incident that happened to Fraser, Branden Fraser, um, kind of rekindled my own experiences, and that's what I want to talk about. It's a sensitive issue because it 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 puts you in a vulnerable spot emotionally, and you start to feel guarded. It affects your whole life, and how here this one incident, at least one incident with Branden Fraser, and for 20 years, um, he hasn't really done a lot of work. He's on the top of his game. So here, just coming on here, he's a man, and he gets blacklisted. So it kind of it kind of shook, got my attention, and again, it's just a couple of days ago that I was just thinking about something with myself and the things that happened to me, and so that's what I want to talk about now. Um, where do I begin? You're being a woman, and I guess also being a man. That's why there were other people in Hollywood that came out a couple of years ago, past 3 years, and shared their traumas. Um, I want to talk a little bit about me, and sometimes people could look at someone, and they project. I mean, people can project on others, and they think because the way they look that they have to be a certain way, and sometimes women could be um, jealous of other women, and they might be jealous of your looks and think that you have it made. Sometimes your looks could be your worst enemy. I'll repeat that. Sometimes your looks can be your worst enemy. Good looks could be your enemy if you can't handle it. Yeah, um, having certain physical attributes can be a blessing and a curse at the same time. And I see how my looks, my being a female, uh, being, let's see, I was always very thin, um, black female of mixed heritage, not exactly looking like everybody around me, not really sounding like everybody around me from the black community. I mean, now you have so many different people, with migration, so you have a big variety, but my growing up wasn't like how it is today. So I think part of that contributes, and I see how some of the things that happened to me made me introverted in many ways. Um, let's see. Yeah, I was born and raised in New York City. Um, let's see, the youngest of six other siblings. A very male-dominated house. And I'm very sensitive. I was very timid. And how do you stand ground when you're living in a very male-dominated household? I would say that was my first lesson that I had to learn. How to how do you assert yourself when you're the smallest? Uh, um, Very male-dominated household. And on the outside, you had women, I should say, young females. And some of them wanted to get to know me because they wanted to get to know the people in my household. See, when you're around, it's like chocolate. If you're always around chocolate, you make chocolate, blah 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 blah. You don't really think anything of it. So the same as living with a lot of males, you don't really think, you don't really think a lot about them. They're just there. But let's say you're a female and there's no males in your family, you know. Um, so you um, may think, oh, she has it easy, um, because she's around these guys, and I don't have access to guys, and so you may find that some women may want to get to know you or be jealous of you because you're around guys, and even though they're your family. I remember this one time, my earliest memory. Oh, I might have been in the second grade. And this girl, she was older than me. I remember she was a very dark-skinned girl. Um, kind of, she was big-boned. And she saw one of my brothers. He was right by me, and then when he walked away, the girl comes up to me, and she stepped hard on my foot. I was petrified. I didn't know what her problem was. And I was very timid, very, very timid. I would say that was like the first thing that I could remember that I associate now with, because I felt it was because of what I looked like, or that some male figure How do you handle this? Like you're trying to process that someone approaches you and then they walk away, and then the other person comes and tries to do bodily harm to you. And I just kept it to myself. And I kept a lot of things to myself. Um, why? I would say because I learned also growing up that if you speak out, you get hit. Yeah, I'm from a Caribbean based family. And in the Caribbean, the sensitivities are not like um, other demographics, and things are very harsh. So I learned try to not make waves, keep things inside, and I just lived in fear. I didn't know how to handle things, but my escape was to be to stay by myself. I stayed in my room a lot and just kept quiet, and that's how I coped. But things like that only works for a season. That's all I can say. Sometimes life may initially teach you to be quiet, but then there's a point where you have to open up your mouth, and sometimes opening up your mouth has consequences, and you may not like the consequences. Um, but it's better said than not said. Because, see, sometimes others are relying on you to be able to speak out. You may be the fall guy, but the word gets out, so others could be protected. So sometimes it's not all about you. And I would say that in my life, that I felt a need to speak, eventually learn to speak out, like what I'm doing now, to speak out because others don't have a voice. And just like as a little girl, I did not have a voice. And I would have liked someone to stand up for me and be that voice for me so that my pain could be heard. Yeah, it's like you don't win, but you win by speaking out, even if the consequences aren't good. Um, because other people see eventually and they say, that person spoke out. And it may have an impression on them, and maybe something one day happened to them and they speak out. It just takes that one spark to light a fire, right? Eventually things will be lit. And maybe that's what this era is all about, speaking out, and maybe your spark might ignite the fire of attention, that is, okay? So yeah, that was my that memory, my first memory. Um, woman, young woman. Yeah, I was like in the second grade, so she might have been in the. I think she was my sibling's age, so she might have been like 3 years older than me. Yeah, she was bigger. I was very afraid of her. I don't even know her name. I know I've saw her more than once. But yeah, I was afraid of her. Yeah, I noticed back then. This is going back late. It could have been 1970. Yeah, so this is going back far. So you do the math. How long ago this was? Yeah, over over 50 years ago. About yeah, about 50 plus years ago. Yeah, I think that was my first incident. And then something else happened to me. Yeah, that's another woman, classmate, and she, again, the proximity. There was a family member for one of my male siblings, And then I can't even repeat what she did to me. It was in the auditorium. And yeah, I remember her name was Cassandra. Yeah, sometimes hearing names from people that picked on you, you don't like the names. Yeah, being honest. Yeah, I remember that was her name. And she, she then does this particular thing upon my body, and I was in horror. Yeah, she did it in the auditorium to me. So I associated like a male, and then I get punished. Yeah, she was a very tall, slim, dark skinned black female. Yeah, she had a brother too. And yeah, the brother, brother never did anything to me, but yeah, he was a, a fairer complexion than she was. Yeah, there's a lot of colorism in the black community. Yeah, we could come different shades, different hair textures, different accents. Yes, yes. Yeah, that shook me out a lot. Yeah, I've never told anyone, and I can't even say it now. What this female did to me. Yeah, um, yeah, you have a lot of trauma. I mean, I wonder how this female learned that behavior to do upon me. This is over 50 years ago. What what are the what happened? What's happening in their household? That's I start to ask myself. What happens in these young black women's household? Does this also happen in other households of other races? That this would be a good question to ask. So this is like my earliest exposure to the effects of being who I am and men, or males, I should say. Um, let's see, what else now? Um, let's fast forward a little bit. So that's my earlier remembrance. Um, I remember being on the train. Yeah, I graduated from high school, and I had my school. I was going to college, and yeah, I got my job. First, family friend helped me get a job, and I thanked them. um, this was another journey. Yeah, my high school. Backing up a little bit. Yeah, high school was very pleasant. I enjoyed high school. I wasn't very academic, but I loved my high school. It was an opportunity. It was a racially diverse school. Yeah, again, this is in New York City in the county of Queens. And I learned early in life that it seemed to be a distinction between me and my black counterpart, black female counterpart. And it's so weird because now I'm very a pro black individual. Pro black meaning that I want the best for my community, opportunities, um, wellness, everything. And not that I'm against anybody else, but I just want to encourage others of the community, black community, to be their best version of themselves, to reach up to the sky, to the sky's the limit. So yeah, so I had a false sense of security in this school. Yeah, and I hope I'm not offending anybody. I'm just I feel that some things need to be said in understanding me and understanding yourselves. And I know I'm not alone, and that's why I share this. Um, what happens to us as a group, or and women in general, that our lives are shaped by the things that happen to us. And being females, uh, as the weaker of this of the species, of the genders, you know, you're more prone to physical assaults, and so that's what I'm pointing out. So yeah, so like my elementary school, junior high was very traumatizing. Um, there was a lot of pain in the black community. Um, Ameri- the American black community was very intense. Um, and I think, in contrast, like I'm coming from a Caribbean background, even though I'm born and raised in the U.S., there's some cultural and just some differences between us. I I would say right up front, North American societies, it's a lot of violence, a lot of trauma, a lot of pain, and no real outlets in addressing their pain. And I think maybe places like the Caribbean or Central South America, that there's so many of you, of what you are, and societies were more um, left alone. While in the US, you're outnumbered and you're surrounded by the enemies. So there are, let's see, yeah, there are a lot of attacks here in North America. And so I think, as an outlet, people, or women in my case, anybody really, um, to cope. What do people do to cope? What do young girls do to cope? They might pick on somebody else. Um, I gather that there's a uh, lot of young girls. I'm theorizing that there's a lot of sexual trauma that happens in the black community. A lot of young black females are being violated. A lot of jealousies, a lot of colorism. Colorism meaning, if someone it with a racism, anyone that whose phenotype resemble closer to whites or Europeans is considered better, and those with phenotypes that are more African is considered undesirable. And so, with that um, stigma or um, thought life, um, people act out. And so I think these young girls are acting out. Again, this is the early 70s, late 60s. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, and the vulnerability of the North American black community, um, and my being a little different looking than the general black community that I lived in, um, added fuel to the fire of others acting out. Um, so again, so that was like primarily my elementary school and junior high school, and I was learning to be afraid of these girls. And when I get into junior high school, it was integrated, and I noticed that the others didn't bother me. So if they were white or Jewish or Greek, you had Asians, I mean East Asians, South Asians, West Indians. They never bothered me. But the only ones that seemed to bother me were the Black American girls. Some of them were very nice, though. I want to add that some of them were very, very nice. But the people who would do something against me would usually from the American black community. So I was to be designated to a black American high school initially. And I said out loud to my folks, I said, if I have to go to that school, I won't go. And I think he believed me. So my father made his phone calls, and I got uh, um, reassigned to a different high school, and it was considered a very good high school, and that's where some of my friends were going. So I did go there to this school, and I loved it. I really loved it. But I see that it gave me a false sense of security regarding um, my racial identity and my just being a female. I felt safe in that school. I never felt, I never, there was no competition for me, at least my perception. I didn't feel that I had to compete with anybody. It was fun. It was a fun experience. However, things changed quickly. Once I got into the adult world of college, uh, jobs, and um, using mass transit. Yeah, New York City has buses and trains, subway system, very extensive one. And this was very traumatizing. What could happen to a tall, slim, caramel colored, large eyes female and quiet? Well, what was going on in the early 80s? You had gropers. You go on the train, and the trains were very packed. And then someone is funneling your behind. And this happened on several occasions. And on one occasion, I turned around and I sees this weird looking guy. I'm not sure what he could have been a South Asian guy. He was a very dark skinned man, really weird looking, weird clothes. And I, I can't believe that I was able to speak out, but I was just angry. And I said, "You better get off this train the next stop. You better get off this." And he just kind of looked stupid at me. And I remember that I took my fist and I pounded on his back because he looked stupid. I'm being very honest. My anger just just came out how he was acting. And I remember I pounded him on his back and he kind of fell on top of this passenger that was sitting down. Yeah, things like that. See, this is a wake up call, and I know I'm not alone. And things like this can happen. It's a violation, and it's something that's not asked for. See, sometimes you have individuals who say, "Oh, it's what you were wearing." They always blame the victim. You notice that? They blame the victim, but they don't blame the culprit. It's a horrible thing. And another incident, I was, yeah, this was like my first semester in college. And I was invited to the movies with a classmate and her boyfriend. And so the girl invited me, "Hey, come with us to the movies." So we would go to movies. And an older man, Caucasian fellow, and he tried to, um, he was sitting on my left side, and he was trying to touch my privates. I was in terror. Yeah, we were watching a comedy, a Western comedy. And this was a very frightening experience. This is one of the few times I ever, at that time, ever been in a movie theater. And this happened to me. Yeah, I hope the audio's okay with this. Make sure. Yeah, just adjusting if the audio's, I hope the audio's okay. Yeah, let me know that if the audio's okay, please press a one if you can hear the audio. If I need to talk out louder, please let me know. So this was very traumatic for me. You're younger, I was 17 years old, and someone that could have been like in the 50s, 60s, doing that. And it seemed like in the 1980s, a lot of perverts were out there. It's very traumatizing. Then I remember, what's that now? Fast forward a little bit. Um, I was at a I did a lot of temp work at one time. Yeah, work was very hard to find and hard to keep. So I did some what they call temp work, and in hopes of getting permanent work, so-called permanent work. And again, I would learn the lesson of vulnerability being a woman. And I didn't feel comfortable talking to people about what was happening to me because, again, I'm raised, you speak out and you get punished. So I kept a lot of stuff to myself. Um, oh yeah. So I was the only black female at this job site. And I mean, my boss was an Italian woman, very heavy set. She was married, she told us, to a Cuban fellow. And there was a young man. He's about, I think it was just a couple of years older, but we're about the same age, but he could have been a little older. Um, what happened now? Um, yeah, I remember he was very outgoing. He was a Jewish man, an Ashkenazi Jew, very nice, very outgoing. And I would soon learn the distinction of, again, a male. Oh, and whether they're black or white, it didn't make a difference. I was being punished. Yeah, I worked in many industries and many different positions. And this phase of my life, I did office work, receptionist work, and being a young female um, with the looks that I have back then, um, um, didn't work. It worked against me. Um, so again, this young man, he's about 27 at the time, and he had liked me. And again, uh, black and white unions, things were very socially segregated back then, very. And the white females did not like, in general, black females. And I was very, very quiet back then. Again, I thought being quiet, just try to make a low, sometimes you cannot hide. You can't, if you look a certain way, you can't hide a beautiful flower. You know what I'm saying? You the essence of who you are to the world comes out. It is what it is. So he had asked me out for lunch, and I went. He was a very nice guy, and then he was out sick. And when he came back, he shared to everybody what was going on. He said, I had to go to the hospital, and he like he knew what something was, but he didn't know the word for it. It was some type of virus, I think, something that had attacked his brain, but he got better. And so he was sharing with us what happened. Well, I got fired because of what the guy did. What did the guy do? Now, the guy, he's I was sitting up front, and the time woman is sitting behind me. So he was talking to all of us in the room, what had happened when he was in the hospital, and I forget what the thing that he was actually saying, but he has, it's stupid, but it's true. Like he 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 made his pectoral muscles jump. He was demonstrating something, and the Italian woman did not like it. So what does she do? She fires me for what he was doing. Could you believe that? Yeah, things like that happen. Things like that happen. Yes, when you work in receptionist, in reception, and that sometimes like let's say a guy might approach her. Yeah, and back in those days, see, things were socially segregated, and they very rarely had black people working together in company. If it was a private sector job, um, they didn't have black and white people together. And so but once in a while, you may have a black person, a male, that might be at the company. They usually worked in the mailroom, okay? Females might do reception work, or they might be do office work, typing. But they don't keep you together. That's what I notice. And so sometimes a guy might, walk up, hey, just want to small talk with you, and then you get fired. This is a horrible, horrible experience. You want it, you have to pay your bills. You are a social being, and you really don't have opportunity to speak or talk to other people. So I learned early in life, my professional life, that you're not allowed to talk to anybody of the male persuasion, black or white. And it's a hard, it's makes you angry. I feel angry when I think about it. And but yet, how are white people able to meet who they meet? So it's like it's okay for them to talk amongst their peers, male or female, but not if you're a black female. I feel that I was stigmatized, and I also felt stigmatized. Um, Yui Hera, yeah, I find that even how I dress is shaped by my experiences. Um, Wearing my hair out, wearing feminine clothes. How dare I? How dare I, as someone from my background? I would get like I used to work in the Caribbean, and I remember, yeah, this person that I knew, she had I wore my natural hair. Yeah, even back then in the early '90s, I wore my natural hair texture, and my so-called friend insisted that I chemically relax my hair. So I think it was just humoring her. I let her do it. And what happened almost immediately? This a black guy in my job. Now I thought he might have been homosexual, or well, I should say uh, neutral, not attracted to anybody, but he was. And then he puts his arm around my shoulder when he was acting real weird because of he liked how my hair looked. He liked how I was looking. So he puts his hand around my shoulder, but he was almost touching my breast, and I got angry. Oh, brother, I got angry at him. Um, yeah, it's like it's like you're taught that being be, wearing your natural hair is not considered as attractive as wearing a European-based hairstyle. And the black men seem to like this, or they like the longer hair, things like that. And I thought living in the Caribbean that they would be very pro-black, but they're not. That was an eye opener. But what else I learned in the Caribbean, um, as a black female of mixed ancestry, um, some of the women did not like. Yeah, when my hair got relaxed, that's when the hatred really started coming at me. I was walking with my then friend outside, but I would always be hearing these weird sounds, and I couldn't figure out what it was until one day when I turned my head and I found out what the sound was. It was it was the women, the black women, was sucking their teeth as I walked by. I said, "Wow, isn't that something?" And I really thought that living in the Caribbean, I would be living amongst my own black people, but the black women there on that island, I lived on St. Thomas. St. Thomas, they generally very dark skin. You have some lighter skin, but in general, it's a very dark skin island. Some of the islands are like Puerto Rico, they tend to be on the lighter complected. You know, it is what it is. But I was experiencing colorism, and the anger that these women were projecting towards me. And it's like how to not make waves. And here, my friend that did my hair really thought she was doing me a good service to do this. I didn't want it done, but I just, yeah, let her do it because she kept on pestering me. So it's like you're not accepted wearing your natural hair. You kind of like overlooked. And then when you get your hair done, also I remember another black female was saying, why do you keep your hair natural? You look so much better. Uh, you know, uh, you go farther with this type of hairdo, blah blah blah. And this was from a dark-skinned black woman, and this was in the Caribbean. Um, so it's really something when you're really trying to promote yourself and to embrace what God has given you, that's not enough. So you get mixed messages, very very much mixed messages. What I was promoting, they didn't want to see. They don't like themselves, and that's what I was seeing in the West, and very pronounced in the West Indies. Um, Black pride was not there. Jealousies. And you know what else? There's a lot of domestic violence in the West Indies. They really don't talk about it. I worked with someone, she was a nice lady. She was a couple of years older than me. And she had a baby with this man. Um, she did get a court order. He was to leave the island. He arrived at the airport, changed his mind, came back, got a hammer, and hammered her to death with the child there in the bed, witnessing everything. Yeah, very, very sad. Um, yes, so much violence. Um, and it was just recently I heard also they have this new movement, something with the word bro, passport bros. Passport bros. This is, it's almost comical, but it's a term referring to black American men who go overseas to find women. And whether it leads to marriage or whatever, as an option to what they're not getting here in the United States. And a recent incident that occurred, it was a black Brazilian man in America. I think this happened in Florida. And what happened to him, he was at a buffet and he was with two other friends, a lighter skinned female and two other men of color. But what was pronounced was that the female that was in their company was a light skinned female of Hispanic origin. And the man, the Brazilian man had on a Brazilian soccer top and a Brazilian necklace. I think it was a flag necklace. And so the black American woman comes over to him and angrily, he prefaced that he noticed that the black women in the restaurant were glaring at him. And then one of them approached and said, "Why are you wearing this Brazilian t shirt, whatever?" So he says, "Well, I am a Brazilian man and I'm proud of my culture." He said, "You're not Brazilian, you're a black man," blah, 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 blah. Boy, this is ignorance to the nth degree. We have to educate ourselves. Okay, so what happens? He said, yes, there are black Brazilians, and then he starts speaking Portuguese to his friend to let her know, yes, I can speak the language. But that wasn't enough. So he tried to address the issue logically, and um, he goes to the buffet to get something to eat, and the woman follows him and starts to beat him up. She didn't like that the woman that he's with, again, it wasn't a girlfriend, it was a friend who was just lighter complected, and to do this, the woman felt rejected because of who he's with. And I feel very sad. This is very tragic. Um, that one thing, severe ignorance, not knowing. Most black people in the Americas live in Brazil. Of those brought in the transatlantic slave trade, the mass majority of us was sent to the country of Brazil. The second concentration was sent to the Caribbean, and you know where the last was? Last of us was sent to North America. And she doesn't know this history. Very sad. Very, very sad. We need to educate ourselves. And we need to lift ourselves up. And not getting, these jealousies, like the jealousies of those two girls from elementary school. But to have a sibling and a black girl getting so jealous of this and wants to hurt you physically. And this is what's happening. We need to address these issues in our lives. Yeah, a lot of these black women feel that they're unattractive, that they consider unattractive. And when a woman feels unattracted to her people, you'll act out the anger. And I see also, it seems like in North America, a lot of us, a lot of black women in America, they're starting to act very mannish. And I see that, I speculate a lot of us have been violated as children. That's what I speculate. And unfortunately, some of us who are may choose certain lifestyles or certain ways of dressing. And to see how it affected my life, that with the constant assaults, verbal or physical assaults, based on my appearance. So if I get my hair done, they don't like it. If I try to dress up a little bit, that it's the jealousies or unwanted attention in transit, having people grope you. I was even groped, I don't know whether I mentioned this, I was even groped on an airplane. And I would say that incident, because it came out of nowhere, and it was the first time I was in an airplane that took off. And why I say it like that, in elementary school, we had a class trip to see what an airplane looks like. And we went inside, but that was it. We didn't fly in it. But when I turned 23, I took my first trip. And it was on an airplane. And yeah, it was very traumatic. And I didn't tell anyone. To this day, it still bothers me. And I think why it bothered me, I had to go to the bathroom, I remember. And I walked to the front of the plane. It was like a little room. And I think that was I thought it was the pilot. He looked at me real angry. Said, come over here. And so I walked over, and then he did something to me. It's hard for me to talk about it. And it's that incident to this day that it frightens me the most. Um, the look of the man, and then he started laughing. He was drunk. He was a drunkard, and I was embarrassed, and I didn't know what to do. Um, yeah, these things happen. It seems like that nowhere is safe, not even on a plane. So sometimes with the thought of me going on a plane, I don't want to. It affects me. I don't want to be on a plane by myself. But as you see, you could be sitting down and someone next to you. I mean, like in the movie theater. This can happen. And this shapes the way you think. This can shape the way you dress. And again, I'm angry when people say, well, if you dress a certain way, it has nothing to do with what you dress. A pervert is a pervert, period, right? And it was that event that happened on the plane that really came to my memory and resonated with what happened to Branden Fraser, the actor. Branden Fraser, who was in a public area, and this president of this organization of Hollywood, some Hollywood organization, and he just comes over and does something in his private area, and he discussed it in 2003, Branden Fraser, and he got blacklisted. And he's a fantastic actor. And I'm just learning about it just before I did this live stream. And is that what he shared? sparked my memory about the incident on the plane. Yeah, it was very frightening. And it made me feel cheapened. But you know who was the cheap person? It was that weirdo that did that to me. Yeah, a lot of times when things happen to us, we put the shame on us, and that's where our mistake lies. We shouldn't, we're not cheap, and the person who did what they did is a cheap, disgusting person. And why this happens, what's going on in these people's minds? And I didn't really, I mean, uh, what was that, 2 years ago, this actor came out about being violated. Yeah, um, yeah, men are violated too. Men are violated. And that thing with Branden Fraser sparked my memory about that incident on the plane. Yeah, it's a horrible feeling. And it leaves me feeling angry, very, very angry. There were other incidents that happened as well. I also used to live in Hawaii. Yeah, I lived in all different places too, different careers, different locations. Um, Hawaii was really something. Um, in Hawaii, people wear very, shorts, flip flops, and t shirt. And looking the way that I do um, can put attention that you don't want on you. So how some of the women might look at me. I was surprised because these were very, you know, pleasant looking women, and some of the behavior that they would do, they would like. I noticed like their expression changes. It gets really serious, and then they start to flip their hair, and I realized, oh, they're doing this against me. Weird. Um, One time I was at a pool. Yeah, the place I lived had a pool, and this this two men, two white men, and one of them was inebriated. He jumps in one of the guest jumps in the pool, and he tried to grab me under the water. I'm frightened. What this guy trying to do? Don't know who these guys are. Then I get out of the pool, and this friend was like, shocked at what his friend was doing. Then I go immediately to the management, and then his friend runs over. Before the friend reached the door, I was telling the manager. He was an older white guy. As I was in the pool, and this man tried to grab me under the water, blah 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 blah. Yeah, one thing I noticed in my experience that men, and in particular white men, do not accept the allegations of a black female or woman of color about any uh, accusations about another man. Yes, this happened. Um, what happened now? So, as I can see the doubt on his face, disbelief, and then the friend, the person that lived there runs over and said, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." Yeah, my friend, he was drunk, and he, blah 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 blah. I'm so sorry that he tried to do that, blah 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 blah. And it was only when his friend spoke and told the truth about what happened that I was believed. Isn't this something that Why don't they believe you? Why don't they want to believe? Why don't they want to believe you? It's very that incident really shook me because I thought the manager and I shouldn't say the word friend, but we were cordial to one another. He lived on the premises, I lived there, and I didn't expect that at all. Didn't expect that at all. This yeah, I mean the Hawaii was something that the people, the tourists, the white tourists that go there, the men, they feel that they could grab the women, touch. And it's like in the US, the mainland, they act one way, but when they go into these places, these so called exotic places, that they fetishize the women. And the way that I look um, could be misinterpreted as being someone from that location. I remember one occasion, a young white fellow is insisting that he knows what island that I'm from in the Pacific Islands and pointing at me. So I know you who you are. You're a, and of course he's wrong. But yeah, I noticed that in the Pacific Islands, the the fetishizing, grabbing women. Wow. And it's like, yeah, it happened again. This other gentleman, I shouldn't call it a gentleman, but I was on the at the post office, and a this Italian man, he's a store owner, a jewelry company, and he says, "Oh, I'd like to give you my business card. If you know a job," and my instinct told me, "Don't go," but I needed a job. So I spoke to this so-called friend. I said, I am looking for a job, and this person gave me their business card, but I feel kind of funny, about going. I do wind up going, and what I thought was going to happen happened. I meet him at the premises, right in the parking lot, and the guy grabs me. And I noticed that this is a man. I guess he was a worker there at the mall. Sees who's watching. I have a feeling that this thing happened to other women. So I said to him, "Excuse me, but I am a Christian." Yeah, back then I used to be a Christian. And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'm a Catholic." Yeah, yeah. And he try to justify it that, well, when he was a young boy, his father brought him to this prostitute. It was an African woman or something, a black woman of some type. And then he met this basketball player's wife. I think of who she was. I'm not going to even mention the name. I don't remember who the lady was or which basketball player. But it was a well-known basketball player who used to, I'm not sure if they used to be married or something, but he dated this woman, and he feels, you know, I think it's kind of baloney. See, anyone could fool around with a woman, but few men are willing to marry. Be selective, ladies. Don't throw your body to someone and they're not willing to marry you. Yeah, so I think he's trying to flatter me. He's not flattering me. not flattering any woman if you don't want to put a ring on the finger. Yeah, he never married a black woman. He was a divorcee, but he was not married to a black woman. See, they marry who they marry, but they don't want to marry you. He was a wealthy man, had a fabulous store. Um, I told him, no, you misunderstood. I'm not that type of. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Some of our reputation, ladies. Some of these men think that they could just that you accept it. I don't accept it. I don't accept it. I don't accept white or black person to put me in a box that they can do certain things to me. And I saw that that was very pronounced in Hawaii. Interesting. I mean, um, some things about Hawaii. I was on the island of Maui. Some things on that island was very nice, but it had a heavy influence of that old thinking that you are there for these other men's fetishes, and I don't like that. Yeah, yeah, that I didn't like. Um, what else? Yeah, a lot of these things when you start to think about it. I was at a job site. Well, I was at a school. I was being trained in pastry arts, and I was at an externship. And something like this incident happened to me. Um, he was from Colombia. I was at this work site externship for about 6 months, 5 or 6 months, and I just had 3 more days left at this externship, and we he's brought in this Colombian man, I guess, as my replacement. I'm surprised he didn't get another person from the school to work there. But either way, he brought on this man. Um, Let me tell you what happened with him. Now, he seemed like a pleasant fellow. We all worked together. Was shown how to make the items. Um, we had to take the same train home, and everything seemed okay. And I think I started smelling alcohol on his breath. We get in the train, and he flips out, totally flips out, insisting that I have to marry him. I was frightened. I was frightened for my life. I tried to stay calm, and I eventually got off the train when it's my stop. And then I contacted my school. I contacted my school to let them know what happened, and the externship site. I spoke to the person that trained me, and then he told the owner. Well, the owner comes on the phone and was yelling at me. They didn't believe me. Why don't they want to believe black people? See, one thing if I was a liar about things, um, why don't they want to believe you? Well, my ex, he says, well, I spoke to him about it, like he's going to tell him the truth, but oh, I spoke to him about it and he doesn't know what the word citizenship means, something like that. The guy in question said that if they're gonna, he was afraid to be deported and all this and that, he needs to marry me. He was flipping out, and he says, "You're not gonna work here anymore." Yeah, awful. It was a really bad incident. And the school, that my teacher starts yelling at me. Yeah, it was another white fellow. I have respected my teacher. I thought he was fantastic. Well, when it comes to yeah, certain things come out when stress brings out the worst that's inside of you, that's dormant. And what was dormant in him was his foul mouth when he gets angry. Yeah, it was very traumatic at the time, very, very traumatic. Yeah, that happened in the late 90s. Yeah, I had also got blacklisted. I couldn't get a job after that. And that's what actually forced me to move to Hawaii. And who would know? Yeah, it's like when you're quiet, when you just try to get along, it doesn't work. Yeah, being me, it's like you're not respected by men, you're not believed by men, and then the people from your own community, the women in your own community, are threatened by you, don't like you. It's like you're not supposed to look nice. You're not supposed to fix your hair. You're not supposed to wear makeup. Yeah, you criticize for wearing makeup. And I look at myself now and say, I could do better for myself, for my looks. And I see that I generally wear very, clothes that don't put a lot of attention to myself. But why should I? Why not? Why not dress how you really want to dress? I mean, if you want to dress down, dress how you want to dress. But sometimes I want to dress up. But I see that it could be dangerous. It could be dangerous being me in dressing up, dressing my hair, even at the age that I am now. It affects you. Just like what happened to Branden Fraser. One event could shape the way you think about yourself, could make you maybe eat more, you know? And like Branden Fraser, he was a real built looking person. And he said that he had accidents on the set. Having an accident on the set and obesity, um, it I sense that there's a possibility that the trauma could make you eat more. Yeah, a lot of these women, a lot of these black women are very, in the United States, are very overweight. What makes us overweight like this? Could it be the trauma of harassment or molestation or rape and racism? All these things, society saying you're not a beautiful person. And so you overeat. I think it's time for all of us to realize that stress, traumas could happen to anyone. It could happen to famous actors and actresses. It could happen to the poor girl down the road, and it could happen to the rich girl, the middle class girl, or any girl. And you may think that person down the road is special and perfect, but their lives may not be. You'd be surprised at the people. I know of other women who were raped, and they walk around with a smile, some of them, but I know the pain inside. Sometimes people are able to transform the pain that they have, and they use it to motivate them to greatness. Wow, that is something to remind myself of. Take your pain and make it your motivation to do better things. And I say that to And address that to all that's in the hearing of this message. And you may be another woman of color, a black woman, a lighter skinned black woman, mixed race woman, living in a society like America, and feel that you're not accepted because of the way you look or the way you sound or the texture of your hair. But that is those other people's problem. Take your pain and make it your motivation to do great and wonderful things. You're not alone. You are not alone. Those who hear this, you're not alone. Make the best of your life and move forward. And I tell this to myself. I needed to say this. I feel I needed to do this video. Hearing the thing with Branden Fraser, the actor from the 1990s. Hearing about his story just today about being violated by another man, a much older man. Yeah. Yeah, it can happen. I was also approached by a same gender, another woman, also in the West Indies. Yeah, that's another problem. You have that as well. You have women who are of a particular persuasion, and they could come after you as well. Yeah, it's a male. It's like I think that some of them have a rape spirit in them. It's something that's not right. And they were there in the military as well. Yes, it was. People don't really talk about it. Yes, it's like people are weaponizing their bodies to harm others. We need to wake up our humanity. You like what you like, but being a predator is being a predator. Let's stop this behavior. Let's keep our hands to ourselves. You got a problem with your hands? Sit on your hands then. You have a problem with your mouth? Put tape on your mouth. We need to wake up as a society, regardless of your so-called orientation. We have to stop violating people's space. And if you do by accident, to apologize. To apologize. That's my message. That, yes, me too, he too also, yes, these assaults happen to men as well, as stated by Branden Fraser, the actor. Yep, happens to male and female, and a lot of this is happening in the Black community, and how some of us in the Black community, the women in particular, are hating themselves so much and are feeling defeated and are being so jealous and hateful and building up a wedge between the male and female counterpart and promoting a movement of the passport bros. Nothing is stopping you women to do something for yourself. Be a passport sisters. To go out there and find something that's going to make you happy. Or approaching your bro in a mature manner and say, look, we're broken right now. Let's fix ourselves. Let's have a discussion. Let's fix what's broken in our community and promote healing. Hitting never hurt, and hitting never fixes anything. It only hurts. Let's stop the hitting. Let's stop the name calling. And let's start an honest look at ourselves and dialogue for healing. Healing is the answer, and understanding. Let's stop the aggression. So that's my message for today. And I hope you enjoyed this very frank conversation. I know I'm not alone. You are not alone who hears this video, this live stream. Don't let anyone intimidate you because of your race or your color or the shape of your body. You have a right to enjoy what God gave you. Respect your body and respect others. That's my message in short. I thank you for listening. Let me know about your experiences that you want to share down below. Share this video with friends and family members, and those of you who want to contribute to this channel, you could PayPal me. To do so, you go on my channel, Spirit Journey, and on the top right of the banner of my channel, you'll see my PayPal me link. Just press on the link, follow the prompt, and any amount would be greatly appreciated. And I'm thanking you in advance. I thank you. Peace, love, and joy to you this beautiful Saturday evening. Okay? So take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, guys and gals. Bye-bye.